So as we start this video, I have to warn you that the content and the subject in this video might be a little bit of a head scratcher, and it's meant to function as a joke. And the point of a joke is to generate spontaneous and genuine laughter, meaning someone tells you a joke, and without thinking about it, without analyzing, without rationalizing, you laugh instantly and spontaneously. And if you have to sit there and think about it, or someone has to explain it to you, then it really, you might produce, oh yeah, that's funny, some sort of fake laughter, some sort of contrived laughter, which is different than the genuine, spontaneous laughter, which is the whole point of a joke. So that's the way the subject in this video is supposed to function. And what we're really going to do is take language to its limits and basically see through it, see how it's inherently flawed, and see how once we understand the root causes of this, it's going to really open the door for our consciousness to really go beyond that and elevate and go to a higher dimension, which will then allow us a lot more freedom, a lot more choice, and a lot more harmony and peace in our relationships with ourselves, as well as with other people, as well as with the world around us, which is, of course, a reflection of our internal world. So, of course, more internal peace, more external peace makes sense. So, what I'm going to share with you in this video is basically my motivation for just abandoning philosophy as a major in college and abandoning it as a real path that I wanted to pursue, because I understood that most people that are into philosophy are basically just chasing their own tail and they don't see what I'm going to show you in this video. So let's get to the point. So to illustrate the whole point of this video is I'm going to use three different things, a quote and then a few illustrations. So the first is, the quote is, "This statement is false," right? And you might hear that, you might say, big deal, that makes sense, whatever. I say that all the time. But here's the problem. If I say this statement is false, it's actually true that it's false, which means the statement isn't false, it means it's true, which means it's inherently contradictive, which means inherently flawed. And this is a paradox that people have been wrestling over for quite a long time. And really, the solution to it is that, number one, language is flawed, logic is flawed, because number one, it's just a fragmentation of reality, which we invented for communication and for convenience. And like all tools, it has an appropriate usage and appropriate misusage. It has strengths, it has weaknesses, it has great potential, it has great limitations. But we need to realize that. So just ponder that and think about that quote, "Oh, this statement is false." What does that say about language? What does that reveal about all statements? So remember, when you're in an argument with someone, you think, "You always do this, and you always do that, and you're like this." Remember, repeat back to this paradox and say, "Well, wait, what is this? What is this really saying about language? And can I really make this statement? Can I really make this assumption? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it actually causing more stress? Or is it actually causing more harmony?" And really a quote that ties that in, which comes from a poem that I wrote recently, which says, "All lives have their roots in truths, and all truths have their roots in lies." Which you might think, that's weird, doesn't make any sense. But if we bring up the image of the yin yang, or the great Tai Chi symbol from Chinese philosophy, which I'm sure you've all seen, it's the black and white circle with the S curve in the middle. But on each side of on the yin side and the yang side, there's actually a little piece of the opposite within it. So it goes back to that quote that all lies have their roots in truths and all truths have their roots in lies. Because life is inherently polar and dualistic, and we only know one thing in contrast with the other. So the next quote, the next illustration that I'm going to use to really point your mind in the right direction is that of the Ouroborus, which, if you've never seen that, it's basically the snake eating its own tail. And I encourage you to look that up and see that image for yourself. And that spelling is Ouroboros, Ouroboros, and you'll see it in Google Images, obviously. But it's something that Carl Jung interpreted as an archetypical symbol in our psyche. And this image really illustrates the whole problem and the whole idea of the initial paradox that I presented earlier in this video, which this statement is false, which it's true that it's false, false that it's true, etc. It's just the snake eating its own tail. It's the infinite loop, the infinite regression, or this inherent self-reflective thing. So the answer to that and the solution to that and what made me just laugh at philosophy and basically abandon it as a life path is because number one, I was after answers and practical application that I could apply and do and go to a higher level, whereas most people are just interested in chasing their own tail forever. But what they don't see, what they don't realize is that who is the person who's chasing their own tail? The individual. Who's the snake that's eating its own tail? The snake. And the snake can decide, hey, wait, I don't have to eat my own tail anymore. I can actually just stop. The hamster can say, hey, I'm on this wheel, but I can actually just step right off and go do something else. It's totally fine. So hopefully all of that makes sense. And like I said, when you mull these things over in your mind, it's going to get you to a point, it's going to get you to a realization that you really can't put into words. And like I said before, the point of all of this that I've just said is like a joke, meaning you hear it and it generates a spontaneous reaction within you, whether right now or whether in a few minutes or a few days or whatever after you mull it around or put it in your unconscious. Allow it to manifest, and you'll have an instant realization or a satori or an enlightenment or whatever you want to call it. And that's really how it's meant to function, because what I'm saying in this video is pointing to things which actually can't be said in words. They can only be felt and perceived on the internal world. So hopefully that's been helpful. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a head scratcher. If you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.